Hello guys, how's it going? Muros here and welcome to the third episode of the Lake Victoria series. With Lake Victoria being roughly the size of the Czech Republic and having multiple cities on its shores, it's obvious that ferries are a very important business in the area. Therefore, the Lake Victoria City Skylines project map is also going to get some ferry terminals. In this episode we're going to build two different ferry terminals, one larger one that you can see right now and a smaller one which is going to be featured later on in this episode. So I'm just starting by building a basic dock. You can get really nice props and assets in the workshop for building docks like this. It's kind of a little tricky to align all these pieces correctly, but with some you have to fiddle around and it just gets right after some time. It can be kind of hard at some points, but it always works out in the end. So there are really nice props that you can use for something like this. I actually have to do a prop list, like an asset list for this project, and put it on the workshop. So all of the ferry terminals that I'm going to build in this episode are right next to the fishing ports and docks that were built in the last episode. So this is going to be the harbor area of the city. There are going to be some areas outside of the city which are used as docks and so on, but this is the main port of the city. It is right next to the city center, but we're going to take a look at the city center on a later episode. You probably can see it in... Yes, you can see it in this video as well, but it's not the focus on this episode. We're going to take a look at it later on. So yeah, I'm just placing some random warehouses and industrial buildings over the place. This is going to be a large ferry terminal where a lot of trucks and buses are coming to. It docks a large ferry which I still have to search for on the workshop. So on the last episode someone commented and said I should be using custom decals for the map to better blend in with the map textures, and yes, I cannot agree more with that. That would be really nice to have custom decals, but yes, I made the map theme myself since there was nothing that would really fit the map on the workshop before, but I don't know how to do decals, so this is kind of the problem. I would love to have custom decals for a map like this. It would be so much better, and I think it works with the decals that are in the game, but it sometimes gets really difficult to blend them in with the theme textures, and it's always a struggle. But yes, I cannot agree more with you, that would be really nice. I'm sorry, I'm just using the things that I find on the Steam workshop, except for the map theme which I made myself, and the map, but when it comes to assets and to modding, I just don't know how to do it. I tried, but it's well, at least in the beginning it was overwhelming and it just looked too difficult, so I skipped it again. Maybe I'll come back to it later on, I will see about that, but at the moment I really doubt that I'm going to be doing any kind of modding in City Skylines apart from custom map theme creation, but I'm not really sure if you can call this modding. No, not really. So yes, sorry for that, but I think it works out with the stuff that you can find on the workshop, and I always try to really use like all of the workshop, like everything there is, and I think that I've probably been through the whole Steam City Skylines workshop already, with all of its thousands of objects and decals and props and buildings and whatsoever, just to get these buildings and objects for this project. Because yeah, as I complained on about in other videos, that the City Skylines workshop is just full of European buildings and American buildings, but there are absolutely almost no buildings to use in any non-Western city. Like, yes, there are some buildings for Japanese cities, but obviously that's not what I want in an African city. So yes, this is kind of tricky to get everything. It works out thanks to the Oshakra series by $2.20 and Skibit. There are some objects for they made a lot of props and buildings for the Northern African map theme that they're building, and it's also very useful for this map here that I'm doing, and I use every building they have created. Thank you. I don't know who exactly made the buildings, but they do. Most of this city here is going to consist of those buildings, but yes, it absolutely fits perfectly. I'm really in love with these buildings. They are perfect. Thank you a lot. But yes, so it's always a struggle to find the right things on the workshop if you don't do it yourself. So right now I'm starting with the second ferry terminal, which is going to be a little bit smaller than the first one. It's going to be for a smaller class ferry, which is just going to dock at the shores of the lake. This ferry here is actually the first custom-made object for any of my City Skylines project. Thanks to Mick Crosshill, who made this ferry for me. It is absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I asked for. This ferry is actually one of the real Lake Victoria ferries, is not something that is made up. It's an actual ferry, you can use it in real life to get around Lake Victoria. So this is absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for helping me out with this prop. It's really useful. I'm going to be using it on several spots on this map, probably for more ferry terminals that I'm going to put around the area. So all I can say is I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. So I'm always using these ferry fender pack things to make the ferry terminals look somewhat, to make them just look better. Well, to make more details, more small objects are always going to look better, and on my projects I kind of try to make, I don't make everything like super detailed like some other YouTubers do, so I limit the details to certain areas, because you're not going to take a look at every single back alley of the street, so it's not really useful to make everything super detailed. So I'm just making lots of details on the more prominent areas of the city and the areas that I'll be showing in the videos. So yes, of course, the harbor area is one of these, and here essentially a lot of details are used.
The next station is Oak Ridge 40 Terminal.
So I'm just putting some random cars onto the ferry and onto the docks. If you're wondering what car props I'm using here, I made these myself. Well, I didn't make them myself. These are vehicles from the workshop that I just turned into props. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to share them with you, since I've not made a single object that you can see of these vehicles. They are I just converted workshop vehicles into props. So unfortunately I'm not allowed to share them, but if you're interested in, I can make a tutorial on how to turn vehicles into props later on. So guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching and for motivating me to do more episodes, since I was kind of low on motivation at some point. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you hopefully in the next episode.